Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast, Very Factual. We're your hosts, Kayla.
And Isabella, and we had some midweek Premier League action going on this week, and we're gonna kick things off at Old Trafford when Manchester United took on Chelsea on Wednesday. Manchester United bounced back from their loss at Newcastle, beating Chelsea 2-1. Bruno Fernandes would have a penalty saved early on in the game, but Scott McTominay would break the deadlock for the Red Devils. Cole Palmer would then level Chelsea just before the break, but United showed that they deserved the win, with Scott McTominay scoring again to give Manchester United the 3 points. Kayla, I have a lot of negative things to say about this game, so maybe we should start off with some positivity. What did you think?
Honestly, it's a very shocking win from United. Like, they played surprisingly well. I mean, when I say that, I'm comparing them to their form this season, not what I would
Mm-hmm.
normally expect from them. But compared to their form this season, they did play very well. And I am so disappointed in Bruno Fernandes. He missed that penalty.
Yeah.
But clearly, it didn't discourage United as much because they still did win. And honestly, I'm proud of them for winning and playing well, but they wouldn't have won if it wasn't for McTominay and Garnacho. They're the
Mm-hmm.
goal scorers for sure. I feel like they honestly carried this game. Garnacho assisted McTominay's goals.
Mm-hmm.
And for both teams, United and Chelsea honestly slacked in this game. It's not just that United was playing good. Chelsea slacked too.
Yeah.
And both teams going to this game, you texted me saying that like they both have a very similar like sheet. Mean like kind of like it wasn't gonna be 1-1. You knew it wasn't. You
Oh,
knew
yeah.
someone was gonna win. It was kind of like someone's gonna win, just who. And I
Mm-hmm.
went into this thinking United was about to lose because Chelsea, they've been doing like kind of well recently.
Yeah.
So this is just, another dip for them, I guess, or them doing well was just, a little taste of what they could actually do.
Yeah, so this fixture for us is always probably one of the most look forward to because it is like our teams and
Yeah.
it is very head to head. And I feel like the majority of the games that they played before, they were ties. The last game they played, it was 4-1 United, but that was when Chelsea were just absolutely terrible, and we won't talk about that. But this game, from a Chelsea perspective, it was straight up embarrassing. We are the only team that can lose to this United squad and make them look good. And I feel like they didn't even play that good, knowing like what they've been through this season, if that makes sense.
Mhm. No, that is honestly so true. I mean, like I said, comparing to how they were this season, they
Mm-hmm.
played good, but also you gotta take into perspective that Chelsea, they were not playing good at all. Like, at all.
Yeah, I came in with a lot of confidence in this game. I'm gonna tell you, I thought we were gonna be the better side. I had like, I was just so excited because I was like, okay, this could be a literal turning point for us. United are not playing good at all. We're kind of getting better. And then United had 28 shots in this game overall, and we had 13. And you guys created so many chances. And it's like, if you guys didn't get this win, right? It it would have been bad for you. Like, this was a result that you guys needed. Um, Everyone worked in this game. Like, everyone worked hard. Nobody slacked off. Mitomane and Emrabat dominated the midfield, and I feel like that's the first time we really seen Emrabat be at his best. Dalot and Garnacho, like, everyone looked great. And Tenag made changes, and it worked out for you guys. Like, you guys had like this new attitude. It was like a refresh been
Mhm.
seeing this season.
I agree with you completely. It's just I feel like United and Chelsea too, they both could have played a lot better
Mm-hmm.
because they both played decent, I guess.
Oh,
And
Chelsea
like I
didn't.
said,
Chelsea didn't. Don't lie. Don't lie. Don't lie.
Chelsea Chelsea played not awful, but they played bad. And I just feel like since they've both been doing pretty bad this season, like I mentioned before, they both have that kind of like weird wrap to their season, weird sheet. And it's just kind of since they've both been playing so bad, the expectations they were kind of low for how well they would play, but a lot of people
Yeah.
expected Chelsea to win. But knowing that they're both kind of bad this season, I would say, it made United look a lot better since Chelsea played worse than expected. And I
Yeah,
feel like United, but I feel like how United played, they should play like this all the time, even better. But since they've both been doing kind of bad and Chelsea wasn't playing how well we thought they would, it just kind of fell.
yeah, I feel like this was a very anticipated game. Like I said, it was for us, but I feel like this season too, because these are two teams that have been on top for. They're like very historical clubs. They should be at the top, and they've just been like not it this season. It was like people were saying it's like they were like the club crisis something. It was like it was just they're both clubs that are in very like big crises, and I didn't expect United to win. I thought it would be even. I knew it wasn't going to be a clean sheet because Onana can't keep goals out of the net. Sanchez can't keep goals out of the net. I just knew. I thought it was going to be like 2-2, and I was very disappointed where we couldn't get the second one. And you said Chelsea didn't play like horrible. You said they played bad, but I think every single Chelsea player on there played horrible. They should be so disappointed with how they played. We spent £1 billion and we get these kind of performances. We didn't start Reece James. Reece James had a red card, and he got one during the Newcastle game, and he came back. He should have started this game because he was like the only refreshed player. Thiago Silva, his age is catching up to him, even though I love Thiago Silva. He's just not fast enough anymore, and I feel like in the Premier League, you need to be quick. We had more possession, but I'm going to be honest, it did not feel like it at all. Like, it felt like you just United dominated this whole game. We had some breakaways, but no one wanted to score. Sterling didn't want to score. He kept passing it to Nicholas Jackson. Nicholas Jackson didn't know what to do with it. And if Mudryk went on a breakaway, he was too fast and he just lost the ball. And I feel like the only thing, as a Chelsea fan, we're all looking forward to Christopher Nkunku coming back, and hopefully he can give us something. But it's not like he's going to carry us because somebody has to create those chances. And our midfield, Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez, were probably the worst players on the field on Wednesday. You know how much money we paid for only those two midfielders? We paid £200 million, and they haven't given us anything. Caicedo was great at Brighton and Enzo was great at Benfica, but they're not the same players because I feel like our recruitment, we have no plan. And Pochettino, uh, see, I'll get to some more Pochettino stuff a little bit later. He made an excuse after the game, and I was just like, why? Why did you say this? He said that his excuse for not winning the game, right? It was because United had more time to rest and they had an extra day to prepare because you guys played on Saturday and we played on a Sunday.
That's not an excuse.
No, it's
It's
not.
really not. That's that's just saying that's the same as saying my dog ate my homework. Like it's the
No,
same
for
amount of
real.
like it's such an excuse that you just know that he didn't know what else to say. He knows that he's
Yeah.
disappointed in his team and he couldn't do anything about it.
Oh yeah. I think it was probably one of the dumbest excuses I've heard. Just like play the game. It doesn't matter how much time you had to prepare. Just go out, do your best. And we played bad, period. And that's what you should have said. Like no one's gonna believe your excuse because everyone saw it. Everyone can see we played horrible. And this is so I just kind of bashed Pochettino there, but I am going to stick up for him. So after this game, every Chelsea fan, and I have no idea why, was saying Pochettino out. Like they want him out. And okay, this is not his squad. He's doing the best he can with what he has. And I don't even think he's doing that bad, to be honest with you. He's so much better than we were last season. And that is a fact. And I've mentioned this in one of our other episodes where we were ranking the top 6 Premier League managers. This it's not his squad. This is literally Todd Bowley FC. These are the players that he signed. He just goes after players that big teams are linked to and expects the manager to do well with them. Like we were all screaming like all Chelsea fans were screaming to sack Thomas Tuchel, sack Graham Potter, sack Frank Lampard, and now Pochettino. Like, no, if Pochettino goes, you could say goodbye to us even having any chance of doing anything good this season, because people need to learn how to have patience. And I literally think Pochettino can bring us back. It's just all about patience.
Honestly, I agree with you. Fans, I'm gonna say, kick out managers way too quickly. They jump on really quick, like, oh, he has to go, he has to get sacked. And there's not enough time for the manager to get comfortable. Like you mentioned with Tuchel, he was an amazing Chelsea manager, and then he got sacked, and it was just kind of like, oh, okay, he had like 3, 4 bad games. But
Yeah.
and I know it's like bad for the for a Premier League team to have 2 or 3 bad games because it can affect them at the end. But you have to remember like you said, this isn't a squad. And I don't love him, but I don't
Yeah.
hate him either. Like, I have mixed feelings because this isn't his squad, and I wonder how he will do, but I feel like Chelsea is not for him. And also, just to go back to the actual game, it was definitely unexpected, and I'm so proud of United though for winning. They definitely
Oh
needed it.
yeah.
And I know that I mentioned before that they had a win and hopefully it was a confidence booster, but this one should definitely be a confidence booster. Everyone's saying that they played well and they're hoping that maybe they're on the right track now. And I feel like those people are getting a little ahead of themselves because one game doesn't mean that it's going to be amazing forever. Just like with managers, one bad game doesn't mean it's bad always. But that just proves how unpredictable the Premier League really is.
Do you think United could this be a confidence booster for United, or do you think they're going to continue to be inconsistent?
Honestly, I think this will be a confidence booster for the next like 2 or 3 games, and then they'll go back to how they were because that just seems to be a
Really?
tendency for United. They go up and then they go back down, and they stay down until they get that one up again. Yes, a late win of 4-3 from Arsenal against Luton, all thanks to Declan Rice. Martinelli opened up the scoring for Arsenal, and 5 minutes later, Gabriel Osho scored for Luton. It looked as though first half would surprisingly end in a 1-1 until Gabriel Jesus gave Arsenal the lead. Luton didn't give up, and they came out strong second half, scoring in the 49th minute, tying it up once again. Ross Barkley scores for Luton, putting Luton in the lead until Kai Havertz once again does something good and ties it up. Almost a shocking tie for Arsenal and Luton until the one and only Declan Rice scores in 7 minutes added time, giving Arsenal their 4-3 shocking win. I mean, honestly, what would you expect from Rice? He's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
He fits in at Arsenal. He knows what he's doing there. And thank God he saved them because this scoreline was definitely unpredictable. I thought that Arsenal they were going to win by so much more, and it's surprising that they didn't. And Luton, they came out a lot stronger than I think anyone
Oh
expected.
yeah. Um.
And
Th- oh, sorry.
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
This game was so entertaining. It was probably the most thrilling of the games we've seen. This was one of the best Premier League matches we've seen so far. And like you said, I expected Arsenal to get like a runaway result. I feel like Luton have picked up some form, um, you know, into the season, but they started off really bad. And I just thought, Arsenal are challenging for the title. They're playing well, and I thought, they would have got maybe like a 4-1 kind that type of win. You know what I mean?
No,
And
I agree with you.
yeah, I'm surprised how well Luton did actually. Like it was a close score. It literally could have been a draw, and I feel like we talk about Arsenal being good, but Luton, you got to give them some praise. Like they exceeded my expectations, and Arsenal just fared even with Luton. Like the fact that it could have came away a draw is still like baffling to me. But Arsenal got the win, and now they're 2 points clear of Liverpool at the top of the table, probably where they want to be, and they're definitely putting in a title challenge.
For sure. And honestly, Luton should take a lot away from this game.
Mm-hmm.
They played so well, and yes, they lost, but that's only because of 7 minutes at a time. It was the
Yeah,
very last possible second that Declan Rice could have scored, and he did, which I'm very happy about. I was rooting for Arsenal, but
yeah,
like you said, Luton did pick up some form this season, but everyone expected, like you said, like a 4-1, 4-2, maybe
yeah.
not a 4-3 late win. And if I was a Luton fan or I played on the team, I would be so happy with the score because yes, you lost, but also it's only because of a last second goal.
Oh yeah.
That's it.
And Arsenal, they worked hard. They climbed out. They didn't turn off, and I feel they deserved it. At the end, yeah, and I think everyone looked really positive in this game, even Kai Havertz. But there was one weak link for Arsenal. Kayla, can you guess who it was? I want to see if you could
Honestly,
maybe get it.
I don't know who you're talking about.
David Raya.
Oh, yup,
This
yup.
guy, right? Mistake after
Mhm.
mistake after mistake, every single game. And in this game, he made some mistakes. The first two Luton goals, maybe three, he made mistakes. All of those goals were because of his mistakes. And I'm just so confused with Arteta because it's like he says he chooses his goalkeeper on form and that he doesn't have a number one because he has two amazing goalkeepers. He can bring one whenever he needs to if the other one's not performing, but he's not doing that. Okay, if you say you are bringing in goalkeepers on form, I expect to see Ramsdale next game. Like that's what I want to see.
I could not agree with you more since I was a Raya fan at the start
Mhm.
because, well, not a fan, I was kind of defending him.
Yeah.
But now that I see that Ramsdale was 10 times better, honestly, I don't think this is Raya's place. I feel like he should be the number two goalie for now. And then as time goes on, yes, I think he has the potential to be number one. But just starting him out like that right away when you already had an amazing goalkeeper is a
Mhm.
little crazy to me because he let in so many goals, and there's only so much that Arsenal defense can do before you can look at Raya.
Yeah, and I think Arteta touched a problem that didn't need to be resolves. I
Yep.
think he kind of ruined it. There was a press conference or something, and he was saying how someone asked him like why he brought in Raya, and he said there were so many times he wanted to substitute his goalkeeper during the game. And okay, then you should have done it this game. Raya was bad. You should have brought in Ramsdale for Raya. If he wasn't performing, so you bring in Ramsdale. And the times Ramsdale played this season, he hasn't looked at his best. I'm gonna be honest with you. He also made some mistakes and looked poor. But if you're gonna say you're picking your goalkeeper off of form, and if one's doing bad, then you gotta swap them out. And like Arteta has to establish who his number one is, because you know, he's like he's just confusing me. It's like you're hurting both of your goalkeepers because Ryan knows, that he could be dropped, and Ramsdale's like, "Oh, I'm not good enough anymore." And it's just like you just have to vow that you're not going to be substituting them and switching them out like that. It's you know, you know, Arsenal got lucky that they won the game. Raya got lucky that they won the game, because if they didn't, this would have been all down to him, and everyone would be talking about the mistakes he's made. And I feel like he is under pressure, and as a goalkeeper, it is harder to forget your mistakes, because it's just kind of like this PTSD almost. You just have it engraved in your brain. You're like, oh, I don't want this to happen again. And I said I thought this one would be more comfortable for Arsenal, but they tested Luton. You expected them to get a winner, and Declan Rice did. Just how good is he?
He's honestly one of my favorite players on Arsenal. Bukayo Saka is obviously one of them.
Yeah.
Jesus is one of them. But um, just Declan Rice, he is amazing. I expected him to be amazing in form today. And I just want to say real quick about Ryan Ramsdale.
Mhm.
Like you said, they were both poor. They both are a little poor recently. Like they're both kind of started off with their form. But
Mhm.
Ramsdale is a little bit better, I have to say, when they started. And you said that it's confusing for us when he keeps on changing it, but it's not just for us, it's for fans, not just for fans, but for players and their teammates too.
Mhm.
Imagine how confusing it constantly is for their goalie to constantly be changed. You don't know how to work on the field. You don't know how to,
Yeah.
and thousands of eyes are watching. So it's kind of like if you make one mistake, not just for the goalkeeper, it might be harder for the goalkeeper, of course, because if you make a mistake, then it's a goal. But it's just that there's so many people watching you. So if you constantly are switching around the goalkeeper, how are people not supposed to make mistakes? But like you said about Declan Rice, he's just phenomenal. And thank you to him for giving Arsenal these 3 points to keep them in first.
Oh yeah, he's their best signing for sure. I think
Hmm.
he's worth the amount of money that they paid for him. Like, he is living up to that price tag. He produces, he's consistent, he's scored some crucial goals. He just stands out on the field. Like, he works on and off the ball. He never stops running, and Arsenal are showing that they're here to challenge. And I still think City are going to win the league, but I feel like, maybe other teams have to be a bit more careful now.
Tottenham Spurs took on West Ham at home and sadly lost 1-2. Christian Romero opened the scoring very early in the game in the 11th minute, and Spurs kept their 1-0 lead until second half rolled around and soon Jared Bowen equalizing the match. The game remained 1-1 until the 74th minute when Spurs let down and let Ward-Prowse score the winning goal for West Ham to make the final score 1-2. I expected a lot more from Spurs considering they are in the top 5 of the league table, but West Ham did put up a fight and did get their
Mhm.
win. And honestly, Spurs is throwing me off recently. Like they're in a dip, yes, but they have some slight ups and it gives us hope and then they drop back down again. And they're like in this kind of wave where you don't know if they're going to do good or bad anymore. I had so much faith in them and I was like, "Oh, they're just in a dip." But now I don't even know anymore. It's so hard to tell. It's so unpredictable with them. And looking at the game stats, Tottenham, they had more possession, more shots. Like they had 23 shots and West Ham only had 11. But still somehow West Ham won. So I feel like that just comes down to City's lineup or their people on the squad, how they're playing. And it's just kind of I don't even know anymore with Spurs because I do love them. They are one of my favorites. But there's only so much that you can really think of. I just think they kind of let us down a little bit.
Yeah, so Spurs have lost the last four out of their five games and they drew one. So it's
Hmm.
loss, draw, loss, loss, loss. And I feel like I knew that they were losing, right? I knew that they've been losing games, but I feel like when you see it on paper, it's kind of like, wow, but I'm not surprised that they lost this game. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like, these are both really good sides. West Ham have been good this season. Spurs started off well, but Spurs haven't been the same since they've gotten injuries to their main players. They're missing a few players. Romero came back into this game and he got a goal. Giovanni Lo Celso, he's stepping up for Madison. And something that I really didn't agree with Postecoglou during this game is like, why did you take him off? Lo Celso he could have created something. Like I knew he could. Their defending wasn't the best. Van de Ven is injured, so they just have a bunch of like center backs or something in their defensive positions. Richarlison came on. He's not the striker for Spurs. He missed this incredible chance. He could have, tied them up. I feel like Spurs just didn't show up. They became sloppy. And West Ham also, they probably had some luck involved. Because if this was the Spurs from the beginning of the season, I don't think West Ham would have stood a chance.
Honestly, I agree with you. And like you said, Richarlison, he isn't a striker. He's good to be a like a starting substitute. You know what I mean? Like when you
Yeah,
know
like a
he's good to
backup, a
yeah,
backup.
he's good to depend on. I just feel like Spurs needs a little bit more signing in the forward lineup because they have Son, yes, but who else that they can really depend on?
Yeah.
You
And
know,
that
they don't, sorry, but they
they
don't have that little push that they need up front. And also their defenders, they have a great lineup, but also, like I said, they might want to have like that one really set in stone defender they can depend on.
yeah, it's just they don't have enough depth. So they're playing a
Yeah.
bunch of people out of positions, and that's their problem. You can't take away anything from West Ham though. Jared Bowen's goal was what they needed. He brought them back. He got them back into the game. James Ward-Prowse's goal. This is where they kind of got lucky. It hit off the post, which I had no idea how he missed it, to be honest with you. Vicario, Spurs' goalkeeper, he couldn't pick up the ball because it was a pass back, so it was just like chaos at the back during that goal.
Hmm.
Mohamed Kudus is, West Ham signed him in the summer. He's literally carrying that West Ham midfield along with Luis Paqueta. You know, I think Kudus is one of their best signings, and you could probably argue Paqueta is too. You can just see why City were after him for a bit. He's just amazing. West Ham picked things up back in the second half. They saw where Spurs were weak, and where they shut off, and West Ham kind of surprised them. And I saw something after this game which I really thought was funny. So last season, and I feel like for many seasons before, we always said that Spurs are being Spursy, right?
Hmm.
And when Tottenham lost the lead and West Ham won, I saw someone say Tottenham is Tottenhamming. And I thought that was so funny because it's just so true. They turned back to their old selves.
I don't think they're as bad as they were before. They definitely are better, but they're slowly getting back, which is disappointing to say, but it's true. Unless they pick themselves up or they get those few signings that we were just talking about, that would be very, very beneficial for them.
Yeah, no one was trying to like take on their guy in this game. I feel like everyone was kind of doing their own thing. And I said this. I knew Spurs weren't going to last. Cuz when they lose, their main players, they're not as good. And see, I really like Postecoglou's style of play, but I feel like once you know that you don't have your main guys anymore, I feel like you kind of have to change something because he is kind of being one dimensional and expecting like his style of play to work every single game. And I feel like you can't really do that because you're not gonna last.
Yeah, that's true. And we've been talking about Spurs a lot right now, but I just want to quickly say for West Ham, they played phenomenal. Honestly, I
Yeah.
expected a lot worse from them, especially against Spurs, but they came in kind of knowing what they were doing. Yeah, they had a few little bit of odd plays maybe, but they were not doing awful. They weren't. I expected a lot worse from them. I expected a closer game. It was a close game, but that's only because I feel it was more Spurs was slacking. After Newcastle's unexpected win last week, they couldn't keep it up and ended up losing 3-0 against bottom of the table team Everton. Newcastle held their ground all the first half and most of the second half until Dwight McNeil finally opened up the scoring in the 79th minute. Soon later, Everton scored again, making it 2-0. Then, thinking that's all for Everton, Beto scored in added time, giving Everton the points they needed to get out of relegation. Newcastle definitely let down their guard, and you cannot blame them too much. They were exhausted and they have many injuries in their starting
Mm-hmm.
line. So the people who started today were definitely not used to playing in 70 plus minutes of time. So they were definitely exhausted. And I am a little disappointed with Newcastle because they held their ground for so long, but I can't blame them too much because like I said, they're exhausted. It's not their starting lineups. It's not who they normally play with because of injuries and other things. So you got to give Newcastle some credit, but then again, it's a bottom of the table team Everton, but they held their ground for a while. So I am proud of them for that.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised Newcastle lost because it's like they've been good this season.
Mhm.
Just Newcastle just played badly. Everton have been a different side this season and they have been good. But, something that really, the only reason they're like in the relegation zone, I mean, now they're not, they're in 17th. Now they're like right outside it because they got a 10-point deduction. So they they
Mhm.
dropped pretty far down, but they have been good this season. I feel everything looked positive for Everton. They got the deduction, but they didn't stop. They got out of the relegation zone. Um, you know, and if they didn't get that deduction, they literally would have been above Chelsea right now, which is like crazy. Everton are not bad at all. It's just that they're stupid financial fair play and they ruined it for themselves. But Everton like played for their lives in this game. They just had so much fight. Everton's first two goals actually came from Kieran Trippier mistakes. He's a really good player for Newcastle, but everyone has their bad days. I think Everton fully deserved the win. They had the home advantage. Goodison Park is such a hostile stadium, especially for everything that's going on. And like you said, I want to cut Newcastle some slack. They have
Yeah.
a lack of players. They haven't changed their side a lot because they literally cannot, because they'll just be bringing on a bunch of kids. I, I, I think they're running out of steam a little bit. I think they're getting tired. You know, Obviously, if you play every single game with no changes, then that's gonna get to you.
Yeah, obviously. And I mean, sorry, not Newcastle, Everton, they have been playing pretty well this season. And I'm proud of Newcastle for keeping their ground for most of the game. Entire
Mm-hmm.
first half, almost a little more than half of second half. And then like we were both saying, they just got exhausted. They're not used to constantly playing, except for those few that are there that normally start. They're
Yeah,
not used to constantly playing like 3 times a week, 2 times a week, and just keep going. They're not used to it, and they can't really sub each other out that much because if they do, like you
they don't
mentioned,
have
it's just
anyone.
kids going
Yeah,
on. It would be even worse. So, I mean, Everton, I expect this to be a kind of close game because, like you mentioned, Everton is they've been a little bit better,
yeah,
but Newcastle again, kind of disappointed.
yeah. Newcastle did dominate possession though, but
Mhm.
it doesn't matter all the time. Everton had 21 shots and six on target, and I think that was just kind of crazy. Everton, they were just overall better, and both teams have been very good this season, but Everton were the ones that showed up.
Mhm.
Another team that showed up, and this is our last game for this midweek Premier League action that we have, are Liverpool. Liverpool are now back within 2 points of the league leaders Arsenal with a 2-0 win against Sheffield United. Virgil van Dijk would open the scoring in the first half off a corner kick, and Dominic Szoboszlai would get a late goal, sealing the Reds the win. I feel like there's not a lot to say. It's But something that we did find out after the game, though, which is a big blow for Liverpool fans, is that Joel Matip tore his ACL, and this was in the last game they played. And I feel like it is a big blow for Liverpool because he started off really well this season. I feel like he looked back to his best, but now they have to play Konate back in, and he has to continue and be at that form that Matip was. But it's just besides that, that was kind of sad. But everything else, I think Liverpool played well. They got the win. They're second. Trent Alexander-Arnold continues to impress. He's back to his best. And that's really all we have to say.
Honestly, I agree with you. And I just have to say though, Liverpool, they did win 2-0 against Sheffield, which I mean, Sheffield's in dead last right now.
Mhm.
So I expected a little bit more from Newcastle, from Liverpool, but you can't hate on them too much. They did win, and
Mhm.
Trent has been looking absolutely phenomenal recently. He assisted Van Dijk's goal. He had a few great tackles, slide tackles, and everything. So, I mean, he's just one of my favorite Liverpool players right now. And because of this game, that puts Liverpool, like you said, in second, just a few points away from Arsenal.
Yeah. And we're going to continue to see how this really close title race continues to play out at the weekend.
Yes, so thank you everyone for listening this week. Please don't forget to follow our Instagram and YouTube at Very Factual Podcast.